Today, we are going to learn about a very special holiday called Martin Luther King Jr. Day. We're going to talk about how it became a federal holiday and why it's so important to celebrate. The holiday is named, of course, after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a minister who became the leader of the civil rights movement. He fought for the equal rights of African Americans who were so poorly treated in his day through segregation and discrimination. He believed in equality, that America should be fair to everyone regardless of their race. After years of speeches and peaceful protests, finally in 1964 the Civil Rights Act was signed into law. And look right here. Yeah, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was present when it was signed, which was great because he played such a huge role in this act getting signed through his leadership in the civil rights movement. In fact, the whole world saw what he did, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize that same year. He was the youngest person who had ever won the Nobel Peace Prize. If you haven't seen it yet, you can learn more about Dr. King's life in this video. This is the picture of what the video looks like. You can click it after this video to learn more details about his life and his mission and his message. But for now, we're going to talk about the holiday itself that was inspired by Dr. King. Now, after his death in the 1970s, there was a lot of talk about a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. I mean, let's face it, Dr. King impacted our nation unlike anyone else had in American history. It just seemed right that he would have a holiday honoring him for what he did for civil rights, for our country, for equality. It just seemed to make sense. In 1979, the House of Representatives voted on a Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. Here's the thing, it lost by only 5 votes. That's it. It lost by only 5 votes in 1979. Now you might think, oh, that's not too good, it should have passed, and yes, it should have passed for sure. But it's kind of amazing that it lost by only 5 votes, and here's 2 reasons why. First, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a federal holiday. That means everyone who works for the government not only gets the day off, but gets paid. So it is expensive to make a new federal holiday, and some didn't vote for the holiday because they said, it's a little bit expensive. That would cost a lot of money for us to make a new holiday. Second, George Washington and Christopher Columbus were the only 2 people who had their own federal holidays. So some people were like, well, Dr. King did do a lot, but should he have his own federal holiday? That sounds like a big deal. I love how Christopher Columbus looks like he's saying, like, Mom, he took my candy, he took my candy. And George Washington looks like he's like, I didn't even touch it, I don't even eat Rolos. I don't touch them. It's crazy Christopher again, okay? He's going nuts, alright? Don't tattle on me, alright? So the excuses were, we don't have enough money, and is he really as important as George Washington and Christopher Columbus? And Columbus still looks like he's like, hey, he took the remote, give it back. This is incredible. Then the people spoke. Oh my goodness. In the following years, over 6 million people signed to petition Congress to pass the Martin Luther King Jr. federal holiday. Over 6 million people. That is more signatures than Congress has ever gotten about any one single issue. It was historic. Over 6 million people said yes, he should have his own federal holiday. So they had to listen. They had to listen. When 6 million people speak, they had to listen. In 1983, Ronald Reagan made Martin Luther King Jr. Day an official federal holiday. And guess who was there? Dr. King's wife, Coretta Scott King, was right there when Ronald Reagan made Martin Luther King Jr. Day an official federal holiday. What an incredible moment that must have been for her. It was first observed in 1986. Each year, Americans celebrate and honor the legacy of Dr. King every third Monday of January. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a holiday that the people demanded. 6 million people said this man, his legacy, his life, his mission is important to us, and we need to have a day of celebration and of honoring this man who gave his life for equality and for civil rights. This unique holiday is a great chance to take a break, to pause everything, and think about the way we treat people, to maybe do community service or help a neighbor, and show that this legacy of equality moves forward. Thanks for watching this Homeschool Pop video on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Watch this video if you haven't yet, Martin Luther King Jr. for Kids, and you'll learn about the life, the mission, and the message of Dr. King. Thanks for hanging out with us. You are awesome. In the middle of the screen, you can see there's a button you can click to subscribe to our channel, or you can click one of these two boxes to watch a different video. But don't stop learning now. Go ahead, click.